Hi, today we will be learning to make these wonderful bookmarks in watercolors. So the first thing that I'm doing is picking up this watercolor sheet. This particular one is from Canson 300 GSM, and I'm just quickly marking using my cutting mat, roughly about probably 1.5 or 2 inches. That's completely up to you. Don't worry about that. So I'm just cutting about whatever pieces can be cut using this one sheet. This is an A5 size sheet that I have chosen, and what I'm going to do today is create two bookmarks. So I'm going to put this up onto the cutting mat using masking tape. So I want the bookmarks to be end to end, so the masking tape today is going to be more of a holding place for our bookmarks. It'll help to put it onto our base so it doesn't move much when we paint, because we're going to be using quite a lot of water onto these bookmarks today. So you can either cut off these masking tape bits using your hand, it's quite easily tearable, or you could use scissors for a neat finish. So I've got we will now get our tropical watercolors out ready, and the first step is to water your entire bookmark. Use good enough amount of water. I'm using an Art Essentials brush, and I'm going to start off with a nice chrome yellow. This palette has a very vibrant yellow, and the idea is to just quickly add in droplets of the color and choose the next color immediately. In this particular style, you will have to work quite fast. So the second color, I am dabbing in some of the areas which is white, and in some areas I will go over the yellow, so both of these colors merge with each other and create a third color. We'll now pick a darker green, but I'm mixing it with the earlier green to give a slightly lighter color, and I'm adding a few more spots of this around. So this particular bookmark has a lot of water on the base, which means you can work a little slowly if you want to. So don't worry if you end up having a lot of water. The only downside would be is your end bookmark could become lighter after the water evaporates. So this is another slightly darker color that I'm adding right now. Again, I'm just adding dabs of it, making sure that the base colors that I had earlier are still visible. Taking some more yellow now to mix with the darkest of green, so there is another mixture. You can feel free to add how many other layers of colors that you want. I'm now adding a little bit of blue because it helps to give a really nice depth to this entire thing. So the advantage of having your masking tape also, apart from holding the paper down, is you can go over it at the edges. You don't have to worry too much about going perfect. You can just go end to end. So that's something that I really like the versatility of the masking tape for. We'll now move on to the second one. In this, we'll go with some warm colors, or hot colors actually. Warm colors of yellow, pinks, oranges, and reds. So I'm starting again with some yellow. Just use a really free hand to do this. I'm picking a bit of really bright orange, mixing it again with the yellow, and I'm going to just add dabs of it everywhere. In this one, I'm using slightly lesser water as compared to the one on the left where we use a lot more water. So in this, I don't have to add as many layers as the first one. So I'm going now with a slightly darker pink, which I'll add as it is first. A few dabs wherever the white areas were, so you can see the pink quite well, and then wherever else you want the colors to merge. You could leave a lot of white also off the base. There's no hard and fast rule about not covering the entire thing or covering the entire thing. That's completely up to you. I'm now taking in some red and adding it onto this. It's more of a pinkish red, it's not completely a red, but basically I want some depth to be added in this. Since it is a cold press paper, there's a lot of texture which helps us to create these dabs which are there. So my paint has dried halfway, so I'm just going to use a slight amount of blue because it is not completely dry yet on the left side, but it is, you can see how it has faded away the color after the water evaporates. So I'm just adding in a little bit of color to make it stand out. So we will now wait for this to dry, and once it's dried we will add in few dots. You could consider this as a night sky, you could consider it as a galaxy, but that's more to just add a little bit of flavor to our entire piece. So we let this dry right now. It has now dried, and I have taken a white watercolor tube. Out of that I've just taken out a little bit, and the difference in this is you're going to make a thick consistency, so less water and more paint, and it's going to be completely opaque. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this brush as a rest and going to tap from this paint which is there and the other one on it to get these small dots. So there are still a few areas in this which is not completely dry, so I like the effect of how the water is creating those tiny puddles. Second one is completely dry because I had used less water, and I'm going to use very little number of these white dots. You could even use a white pen to create this. It's a really fun effect to do that. You can create it in different sizes. All you need to do is have good amount of water and good amount of paint. Don't make it transparent like you would have for your regular watercolors. Let's now peel it. Don't worry about the edges not being clean in this because we are going to cut it off, because I want these bookmarks to be end to end. It is very hard to paint watercolors without using masking tape if you have a specific size like this done already, which is why I put the masking tape on a very little area, so not too much of my paper goes waste that way. So if you want something bigger in terms of your width of the bookmark, then you will have to cut accordingly, keeping in mind the side white edges that are going to come off from the masking tape. I'll cut them, and this is how they look after they are cut. I'm very happy with the results. I hope you liked it too.